All right, folks. So today I'm just going to try and very briefly and as quickly as possible try and talk to you guys about what the three G's are and explain how those lead to this big time period within world history and what will eventually lead into American history called the Age of Exploration. So let's talk about those, talk about the reasons that these explorers kind of go out and explore and what each of these three G's kind of represents. So the first G that we talk about is God. And so it's not literally like God coming down to all these explorers and being like, hey guys, go and find like all the neat stuff that I made out in the world that you guys need to discover. It's nothing so literal as that. What it is it's people actually going out with the intention of converting people that are non-Christians to Christianity. So going out to all these other newly discovered areas and finding these native peoples and trying to get them to convert to Christianity. And a lot of times, these native peoples very easily and happily accepted Christianity because they didn't really understand what Christianity was all about. You'd have Spaniards that would hop off a boat and would be like, hey, you guys, y'all need some Jesus. Like, have y'all ever heard of this before? And they would have literally no idea what these people were talking about because they were speaking Spanish and they speak a completely different language. So you have a lot of native peoples that are converted that way. But you also have a lot of native peoples that are like forcibly converted as well. So you would have Spaniards or Portuguese or English citizens that would hop off of the boat, these explorers, and they would try and get peoples to convert, and they wouldn't. They wouldn't do it. They would understand that that would be recognizing a different god and a different deity than what they actually worship, so they wouldn't do that. And so as a result, a lot of Europeans would just start randomly killing a bunch of natives to try and force them to convert, after which a lot of native peoples would be like, okay, well, you guys are taking this really seriously, so fine, we'll convert, or we'll pretend to be Christians, or we actually will convert to Christianity. But what God is all about, this G is all about, is this Christianity and spreading your own unique form of Christianity, whether it be Protestant Christianity or Catholicism or something like that. You just have the Reformation that happens where Christianity and the Christian church splits into two different parts, the Catholic Church and then all the other different Protestant Christianities. So you have a lot of competition that's going on between these two different forms. Here's a map that I found that kind of shows you the different types of Christianity and where they're spread out throughout Europe. So all of this that's in green down here, this is all Catholic Christianity, and then all this purple up here is just various forms of different Protestant Christianity, whether it be like Anglican or anything such as that, Calvinist. But when you think about these two different forms of Christianity, you really need to think about them as constantly competing against each other. Really think about them almost as like gangs. You have your Protestant Christianity that's trying to outdo the Catholic Christianity. If they get more converts and they get more native people and European people to convert to their form of Christianity, then that validates them and makes them feel like they're form of Christianity is more correct and more proper and more powerful and like the right way to go. And then vice versa for Catholic Christianity as well. If they can win over more converts than Protestantism, then okay, cool, they're the right way to go. They're more powerful. They're validated. And so therefore you have these two forms of Christianity that are competing against each other. And one of the big reasons for exploration is to go out and find new people that haven't heard of Christianity before, have them experience your particular form of it, and have them convert to it and spread, the message of God or their own unique message that they interpret from God. Second G, and probably the most important one, this one is gold. And so this does refer to like actual literal gold. It also refers to silver as well. But really what it refers to overall is just going out and exploring and trying to find anything that is of value whatsoever. Whether it be gold, whether it be silver, whether it be things like ivory, which are elephant and rhino tusks and horns. And also, and probably the biggest thing, are spices. Spices were a really important, hot, and expensive commodity way back in the 1400s, right after the Crusades. You have Europeans that are coming back from the Middle East, and they've experienced things like cinnamon and saffron and pepper, and they get back and they have all this nasty, bland food. And so what they've experienced in the Middle East, they want to bring back home with them. They love these spices. They love this food. And just think about like how important food is in your daily life today. how significant it is to have something that tastes good. And after you've experienced something that tastes good, how you want to continue to experience that and taste different things and eat different things. So spices, once these Europeans get back, they want to bring these back over with them. So they're going to do really everything they can in their power, and spend just about any amount of money that they can to get these spices, to have access to them, to put them in their food or whatever it is that they want to do with them. And just kind of to give you like a breakdown of how expensive spices were back during that time period, I did some math here. So a master carpenter way back in the day would have to work for 3 days, 3 full days of wages, to pay for 1 pound of pepper. So I did some of the math online and then looked up how much pepper was on Amazon. So it would end up, if you made $30 as a master carpenter right now, and you work 3 8-hour days, it would cost you to buy 1 pound of pepper, $720, just for 1 pound of just ground pepper. And that was by far one of the cheaper spices that you could get. You had more expensive things like saffron that would cost 10, 15, 20 times more expensive than that. So just know that spices are an extremely, extremely hot commodity, but also they're an extremely expensive one as well. And so what that is going to end up doing is that's going to cause a lot of Europeans to try and find ways to get those spices themselves or have a more direct route to those spices, because if it takes less time for you to get them, that actually drives the price down. Think about all the tractor trailers and all the packages that get delivered throughout the United States. If something is closer to you, it's going to end up being cheaper. It's going to end up driving that price down. However, if you're getting something, if something is being shipped all the way from like California or maybe like out of the country, the shipping is going to skyrocket because the cost to transport that good, the difficulty that's run into by having it transported, it's going to drive that price up. And so what's happening is having all of these spices that are being shipped from India, that's where they're coming from, it's driving that price up. It's coming across land. Ignore these arrows right here. I'm not talking about those at the moment. How these spices are getting there, they're coming from India and they're going all the way across the Silk Road, west across this land. And it's extremely difficult to ship these goods across land. And on top of that, it's also the prices of the spices are being increased significantly because Muslims control this entire trade route here. And so since these spices are going off to Christian kingdoms, the Muslims are kind of like, we don't really like Christians that much, but we like money a lot too, so let's go ahead and just kind of increase this price a little bit so they have to pay more. Because they're going to pay the amount anyway, what are they going to do? And so after a while, Europeans try and find a different way to access these spices and access these goods. One, because the prices are so expensive, and two, they really just don't like the idea of spending money and giving it to Muslim kingdoms and Muslims off in the Middle East. They just don't like that Christian-Muslim conflict. They just don't like that. And so what ends up happening is this guy, Vasco da Gama, ends up going on a series of exploratory missions. And so he ends up going south along the coast of Africa. He's Portuguese, and so he sails down the west coast of Africa, and he goes on a series of voyages. And he just periodically will go a little bit further south and a little bit further south, and they'll kind of make camp along the coast and then keep on going a little bit further until they get to the southernmost tip of Africa. They're the first ones to really discover it, or the first Europeans to discover it, and then they go, all right, cool, now we can go around Africa, and now we have a direct sea route all the way off to India. So even though this distance here through or over the ocean may look like it's significantly longer than it would take for them to walk across this land, it's actually much, much quicker. So it drives the price of those spices down, and they no longer have to deal with any sort of Muslim or Middle Eastern middlemen. They can go straight to the source in India. So Vasco da Gama ends up finding this route all the way off to India, drives the prices of spices down, and while he's doing all that, he's exploring the west coast, the southernmost tip, all along Madagascar too. He's discovering, exploring all of these new areas. As he's doing it, he's mapping it. He's discovering new people. He's discovering new resources. More explorers are going to start looking through this region as well and discovering more and more and more people. You're going to have Christianity that's spread throughout these different regions, wherever Europeans are starting to drop off to. So that's what the G gold is really all about. Is the spice trade, trying to discover gold, trying to discover silver, trying to find new routes to discover, or I'm sorry, have better access to these spices. And the last one, glory. So what is glory all about? It's about being famous. It's about being known, notable, becoming a celebrity. I mean, today it's pretty easy. All you have to do is go on the internet, eat a Tide Pod, upload the video to your Instagram, and then you get an ambulance ride off to the hospital, and yay, you've got 20 more followers. Don't eat Tide Pods, kids. But way back in the day, to become important, to become known, to become famous, you really had to do something big. News circulated very, very slowly, and in order for it to like live and spread quickly and spread to thousands and thousands of people, you really had to be a very important person. And these significant people way back in the day, these are explorers. So they're going out and they're doing all of these things not only to kind of gain fame for themselves, but they're trying to gain notoriety. They also, when they go and discover these new places and explore these new routes, they're hoping they'll find a lot of gold or silver spices that'll make them a lot of money. So you have individual fame, so the actual explorers themselves are going to these places. They want their own fame, but then on top of that, you have fame for your country or glory for your country. Kings and queens, these monarchs want explorers to go out and find these new areas and find these new people and find these new resources because it makes their country more powerful. They can set up colonies in these different regions. They can have access to new resources they previously wouldn't have had access to. And so you have your individual fame, fame for the person that's actually going out and exploring, and then you have fame for your country or fame for your monarch, going out and exploring for the sake of your country, for the sake of Spain or for the sake of England or the sake of whatever country that you're exploring. You're doing it because of like this nationalistic pride. You want your country to be the most powerful one, and how do you do that? Well, you find new places, you find new people, you establish new colonies, and you take and take and take as much land and as many resources as you can. But that's just very briefly what the three G's are. God, the spreading of religion; gold, the finding of valuable resources; and glory, fame for yourself, and also fame for your country. So that's three G's, guys.